I'm Oliver Carroll. I'm the Conservative Party prospective Parliamentary candidate for Altrincham and Sale West. I'm out in Hale Village just talking to residents. We've got a team of people here asking them about their concerns and what's on their minds and what we can do to address them.
And what is on the minds of the people?
I think a lot of people are very concerned about preserving our green spaces locally. I am fighting to save Carrington Moss, which the Labour Party in Greater Manchester want to build on. I'm determined that isn't going to happen. It will be catastrophic for climate change and for the green agenda. So we want to put a stop to that. People are also very worried about school places locally. I'm a fierce supporter of our grammar schools and high schools in the area, and want parents to have the choice to send their kids to local schools. We need to make sure that is happening. In particular, we've got North Kestrel, which is wanted to expand. And we want to make sure that they're able to do that. So a lot of issues on people's minds, but they're people are positive and they know that we can fix them for them.
And why do you think Graham Brady is standing down?
Well, he's had a long time in Parliament. He's done a great job over the years. I don't blame him to wanting to go off to have a retirement.
And do you think you're going to win this seat?
I think it's going to be very difficult. I take absolutely nothing for granted. But we are getting a lot of positive reception. People appreciate that we are, offering a fresh start, and that I've got real passion for the area. This is where I grew up. This is home for me. Went to Alty Boys, went to El Green Primary School, here in Hale Barnes every week. So, I think this is a campaign that we can win. But I am talking to every resident, taking nothing for granted.
And before you mentioned about helping and saving the environment, when I was talking to the councillor for Altrincham this morning, he said that the Conservatives especially weren't doing enough to help the environment, and Rishi has sort of backtracked from the 2030.
There's been no backtracking. The net zero commitments are in law. They are staying. We are absolutely determined to hit net zero. What the question is how we get there, and I am determined, and the Prime Minister is determined, not to push people into poverty in order to do that. What we will do is get to net zero in a sensible way, in a way that works for people and that keeps people from being pushed into poverty.
So you don't think the Prime Minister backtracked on his, instead of making it 2030 to stop producing electric cars, and it's now 2035?
But clearly there's been a movement around some of the elements of net zero commitments. I think ultimately we have to deal with the world as it is, not how we want it to be. And I do not want people to be pushed into poverty and for their lives to be turned upside down on the altar of what is a commitment that we all have to meet. And it's a question of how we get there, right? No one is saying we shouldn't get to net zero. I fully support that. In fact, locally, we've got Carrington Moss on our doorstep, a carbon sink, captures more carbon than the rainforests, and the Labour Party and the Green Party are happy for that to be built on. I'm not. So I'm determined to be an advocate for the green agenda, but as I say, we have to deal with what's in front of us and not just pontificate and slap ourselves on the back and say, isn't it marvellous for doing a good job? No, actually, what really matters is doing what works for people and what works to get us to net zero. So that's what we're determined to do.
So apart from the environmental issues, what else? How about the cost of living crisis? How would you support residents in Altrincham and Sale West if you were elected?
Well, the government is doing an awful lot. I mean, let's not forget that the government has been paying about half of people's energy bills over the last couple of years. So, clearly it's a difficult situation internationally. But inflation is coming down. It's going to be coming down further. The economy is growing. In fact, it grew faster than France and Germany with the revised figures the other day on economic growth. So I think we've got a great story to tell. Now, I'm not going to stand here and say it's not difficult for people. It is really difficult for people out there. Well, that is the same in every country at the moment, and I think the government has a fantastic plan to deal with it. Unfortunately, what we see with the Labour Party is with their splurging spending plans would only ever push up inflation, and that is the last thing we need at the moment.
And what do you think of Keir Starmer, the Labour leader?
Well, I wish I knew what he stood for, because one day it's one thing, the next minute it's something else.
And what about Rishi?
I think he's a fantastic leader. He's sensible, he's business-minded, he is a pragmatist, he looks at an issue and assesses it and works out the best way forward. He's got everyone's best interests at heart, and I think he will be a fantastic Prime Minister for years to come.
Well, thank you.